Camcorder Comics, a comic review for you. Hey man, welcome back to CAMCORDER Comics. It's a comic book review show shot with a camcorder. This is Nicholas Villars, aka Super Divorce, and today we're going to be taking a look at Grayskale. This is a production by Michael Derrick and P.K. Santra, as well as Eugenio Bativu, who did colors, and James Reed on letters. What do we got going on with this Grayskale? Well, let's hop over here in case people need a little refresher. Grayskale, Welcome to Glitter City, was an Indiegogo campaign that raised $8,575 by 296 backers. Finished up back in February of 2020, and then was completely fulfilled by, I think, last February, according to these updates right here. And I bring the updates up because this is an interesting situation that we've got on our hands with Grayskale and with Michael Derrick. You see, according to this update on the official Grayskale Indiegogo page from February of 2022, just earlier this year, just several months ago, Michael updated and said that there was supposed to be a launch for Grayskale number 2 on Indiegogo, and then it never happened. Not sure what's going on with that one. I couldn't find any information on the Twitters, couldn't find anything on YouTube. I have no idea. And Michael was on Twitter at Cauldron Comics. That's gone now. His official YouTube page has not been updated but once this year, and that was only to post a trailer for the original Grayskale comic that was already fully fulfilled last February. So a year later he posts the trailer for that one on his YouTube page, and that's it. That's all you've gotten from him this year on YouTube. So I have no idea what's going on with Michael. Michael Derrick was actually a guest on this channel some time ago. He was on an episode of Black Coffee Comics Gate. It was actually episode number 4. You can check that out on the page. We had a good chat. And that was before I ever received this. That was, I think, back in 2020. Which is weird. It's been that long since I think I've done an episode of Black Coffee Comics Gate. I'd like to get back into it, and I'll have to do that at some point in the future. But I suppose we should get on with the review. If you have any information concerning the whereabouts of Michael Derrick, please let me know in the comments below. If there's some sort of horse shitty drama type thing that pushed him out, where he had to duck and roll, duck and cover, did a barrel roll on out of Comicsgate, let me know. I have no idea what's going on with that. I haven't really kept up, to be honest with you. As far as the lore of Comicsgate goes, I haven't really kept up recently. I've been so busy with uploading video games and working on my comic book. I'm just trying to get back into checking out some live streams again and popping in the chats. But for the longest time, I just was not following along. So maybe someone out there can help get me up to speed, because I tried. I looked on Twitter. I searched the keywords. I couldn't find anything. So it's been like scrubbed clean. Anyhow, this is the comic book itself. A nice and thickly thick boy. It's got a kind of textured, ribbed for your pleasure front cover, and there's also a little ribbing on the back too. There's the titular character, and we will crack that open in just a second. I want to look at the extras. This is an Ashcan called Dark Ages. This was not just drawn, but it was also written by P.K. Santra. who did the artwork for the actual book. This ash can here is something that PK created on his own completely, and at a stretch goal, I believe, they went ahead and threw this in, or it was made available at one of the tiers, I believe is how that worked. And you can still read this on PK Santra's website. He's got some of his comic work up there. And if you would like to follow PK, he has not disappeared from the internet. You can find him on Twitter at Pramit, P-R-A-M-I-T, Santra, S-A-N-T-R-A, at Pramit Santra on Twitter, and you can get around all his various websites and whatnot. And yeah, so that was a nice little bonus extra to throw in for people. This was a cool one. Here's a pinup that I'm not going to be able to show you completely because of some kind of nudie material. There aren't any nips, and there's no vag shown underneath this flap that I've put on here, but I don't know how YouTube feels about like a smoothed out vagine and a smoothed out titty when there's not any covering on it. So I'm playing it safe, and I've covered those up for your safety and for the safety of all the viewers on YouTube. But this is done by Pablo Romero, and he is one of my favorite artists that I have discovered since getting into the Comicsgate community back in, I guess, 2018 is when things really kicked off. 2017 or 2018, somewhere around there. Pablo does great work. Check him out on Twitter. Follow him. He's always posting badass shit, especially if you like sexy ladies. At Pablo Romero Art on Twitter. What else do we got? Came with these trading cards, these oversized trading cards. This one is of the Joe King character. This comes from George P. Gatsis. A really interesting artist. I've not backed any of his stuff. I've not read anything from him, but I do know that he is Canada's pioneer when it comes to computer-generated comic book art. He created Canada's very first computer-generated comic book way back in 1990. And he has kept that going. He's kept that tradition alive ever since, and he's still working now. He's got a campaign that you can sign up for right now where he's doing a crossover between his character and some of the H.P. Lovecraft characters. They're doing like a plushie. You can buy like a plushie toy of him, and then a little plushie Cthulhu, I think, is what they have on sale, or what they will have on sale. This is what you can sign up for, folks. And then there are some comic books that are going to be tied into it. So check that out. Look up George P. Gatsis, G-A-T-S-I-S, and look into his stuff. He's got a very interesting website, lots of information on there. He's got stuff for sale. So I'm going to have to do some more digging. I'm going to probably pick up a book or two of his, and you'll see that at some point in the future on this channel. And, oh, wait, was there? I think I missed something. No, that's just on the back side, you've got a Grayskale advert. All right. And here's some Grayskale artwork. This looks like PK's stuff. So, same thing on the back of that one. All right, let's crack open the book itself of Grayskale. Welcome to Glitter City. Glitter City is where this book takes place. You can see right here, you're given a shot, an establishing shot of Glitter City. They call it Gutter City. All of these gray boxes with the white writing is internal dialogue. It's what the character Grayskale is telling you. And he's setting the scene for you, talking about how seedy this city of lights and magic to the typical onlooker actually is. To the typical onlooker, you know, it's like, oh, look at all the magical glitz and glamour around here. But much like Vegas, what happens in Glitter City stays there. And you've got this nice casino. Reminds you of something that you would see in Las Vegas, you know, with the fountains spraying and splooging everywhere. Aliens. What is this? Mars attacks? No, they're not really aliens. This is a group called the Alien Exiles. That's their gimmick. They dress. It's like a gang, and they troll around the whole country and they rob people. And they've got these little zappers they use. It's like their trademark. But they wear alien masks, and they break into the casino, and they're holding up not just anyone. The casino owner is actually there. This fella, Johnny Singh. And they're going to get some money from Johnny. But, oh, Grayskale comes along. And what's Grayskale all about? Well, he's all about taking care of business. He's all about being silly, too. You see him dunk in the water right there to avoid being shot with one of these little zappers. He dunks himself in the water like a silly clown, and then he jumps out, and you see him delivering some action-packed punches and crunches and kickings and all this kind of stuff. He takes out the alien gang pretty easily, walks over to Johnny Singh, and you would think if you went up to a casino owner after you just stopped a robbery at his place, he'd be happy, but Johnny Singh is not happy. Not only that, Grayskale, while looking at Johnny, let me just slow down a sec. Grayskale is a superhero with the ability to see people's karmic aura. So he can look at you and he can tell whether you're a super evil bastard, whether you're a pretty neutral, run-of-the-mill so-and-so, or if you're a very good boy. You know, there's a bit of a spectrum. And so if he sees the outline of an extremely negative person, he knows they've done a lot. They've been very naughty indeed. And that's what he notices about Johnny Singh. He looks at him and he's like, you know, why is your karmic aura even worse than the guys who are robbing you? And why aren't you very happy that I just helped stop this? Questions. In any event, he says, you know what, you deserve this. And then he punches him right in the mush. And that's how he leaves Johnny Singh at his casino. Grayskale heads out of there, gets out of Dodge, goes back to his shrine, he calls it. It looks kind of like an underground bunker. They've got all sorts of religious knickknacks and artifacts and paraphernalia. And also waiting for him at his lair, if you will, his good guy lair, is this guy named Charteris or Charterie. I don't know if it's a French name, but Grayskale calls him Charty. He kind of sits around, he watches old movies all the time, he likes to sit there and eat Doritos and Cheetos, and he's kind of like Peter Parker's friend who aspires to be the man in the chair. Isn't that what he says? I want to be the man in the chair. Who kind of gives him direction and helps him out. Grayskale takes care of the action on the street. Charty, he's studying the religious knickknacks. He's training Grayskale in the karmic ways and all this kind of shit. So they've got that kind of relationship together. And they hang out and shoot the shit and banter and all that kind of such and such. Now, back at the casino, Johnny Singh is very angry indeed about what's just happened. We're provided some insight. You find out what the deal is. Johnny Singh is he's angry because Grayskale has interrupted not a robbery. He's interrupted a fraud scheme. Those alien invaders were hired by Johnny to come in and pull the job so he could make off with some insurance money. It was an insurance fraud scam that Grayskale stopped. Now, he can see people's karmic energy. He can't see what caused it. he can't see what they're up to. He's not a mind reader, but he is able to see, generally speaking, who's been up to good, who's been up to bad, and who's kind of living a middle-of-the-road life like most people are. Most people are not extravagantly good or bad. Most people are kind of milling about sort of in that middle space. So he goes out to do some brooding and to think about things, and while he's on his own, he's looking around the city in his Grayskale. And this is, I imagine, what he kind of sees when there's a problem on the horizon. You see, he's looking at people, and they just kind of appear black and white, shades of gray, normal. That lady's kind of normal. You don't see anything emanating from her. But then up on this balcony, you see this wispy, black, smoky type stuff surrounding this fella, and Grayskale kind of zeroes in on him, and you can imagine this black that originates off this fella. You can imagine that's maybe his negative karma. That's perhaps what Grayskale sees when he is tracking someone down, when he's going after someone, when he's trying to find his next target. That's what he's looking for. And he's kind of zeroing in on this guy. But he's interrupted by Repo, a big old bastard, a big tough son of a bitch who dresses up like the Grim Reaper. He's kind of like a mix between the Grim Reaper. Hold on a sec. Grim Reaper. He is a mix between the Grim Reaper and perhaps the Hulk, because of how hulkingly huge all of his muscles are. And he has been sent by Johnny Singh to track down Grayskale and give him a whomping and a whooping for messing up his plans and for generally being a nuisance and a thorn in his side. There's this part right here that I was kind of curious about. So they're fighting up on this rooftop, right? And Repo tosses his like hooky scythe deal at Grayskale, who catches it, and then Repo pulls Grayskale towards him at a very quick pace indeed. Grayskale launches through the air, but rather than kind of moving the scythe hook straight out in front of him to either slash him or to stick it right in his face or his chest, he keeps the hook at his side and just, what does it say, thwunk? He thwunks him in the face with this little billy club type implement, which I'm not the hugest fan of. I don't really like this weapon that he has. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like the way it looks. It just doesn't look very imposing to me. Now, if it's supposed to look a little silly, I guess, and add some humor to the character because he's got this little smirk on his face all the time, then okay. But it doesn't look like a really cool superhero implement. I have a problem with that. And again, it would have been more badass to just put this hook out in front and send it shunk. That would have been a good alternative sound if you would have had the hook out in front, shunk, right in his face. But he didn't do that. He did knock out some teeth. Reaper grabs hold to him, though, gets him in kind of the Andre the Giant bear hug when he had Hogan in the bear hug, and things are not looking good. Grayskale starts to go black, and then he remembers Charty told him one time, that one move, you can never do it again. Don't ever do that again. So what does he think? I got to do that move again because I'm going to die anyway if I don't. So he does it. It's a move he calls instant karma. And this is where you find out that not only can Grayskale see karma, he can control it and he can influence it. He can manipulate it. So he can sort of increase this guy's negative karma to the point where it like shrouds him, and he ends up somehow falling into something that was explosive. There's a big kaboom. Sploosh, he falls down into a pool and just lies there, and you're left to make your own assumptions. Did he die? Is he going to be okay? I don't know. I don't think Grayskale really cares all that much. But Johnny Singh, shortly after that, gets a phone call from someone who informs him that Grayskale has also subdued Repo the Reaper, and he's out of commish. So we're going to have to figure out some other way to stop Grayskale. Back at the underground bunker, back at Grayskale's hangout zone, he's getting patched up by his buddy and tells him what he did to win the fight, and Charty kind of is like, ooh, I don't know if you should have done that. And they get into it a bit here. Really, Grayskale is the one taking offense to Charty's admonishments. Charty's just trying to look out for him. He's like, we don't know what this power really does. We don't know how it's going to affect you. And Grayskale really flies off the handle. You can get some sense that after using this instant karma maneuver, it's really put him on edge. It's like changed his karma somehow. And it's causing him to act out. So there's a bit of a blow up on Grayscale's end. He flips some shit off a table here and screams and gets the hell out of there. He jumps on his motorcycle, heads over to the local homeless shelter, and yeah, he likes to help out, but he also likes to see this lady. Her name's Felicity Phelps. It's sort of his love interest, and you can see why. She's blonde. She's got nice big full lips, nice rockin' set of tits there, and he's gonna go and see what she's up to. Maybe take his mind off things a little bit, and he asks her out. They go out for a nice evening on the town in Glitter City. They check out some of the street performers. These guys are actually super powered street performers. You've got a skeleton man named Lazy Bones, the caricaturist, Statuette, who's like a series of statuette ladies, and then the ventriloquist chimp, a chimp with a ventriloquist dummy. You don't really see them get involved in the action in this one, but I did read the synopsis for Grayskale 2 said that Grayskale was bringing some friends along to help him next time. So maybe these characters here will actually be getting into the action in Grayskale 2, if it ever comes out, if we ever find out what happened to Michael Derrick. Now, on the street, all around the city, Johnny Singh has his boys kind of looking around, scoping the scene, trying to keep an eye out for Grayskale. Obviously, Johnny Singh wants him taken out ASAP. It's really becoming a problem for him. Now, one of these guys walks up to this lady who is sort of in distress, sitting lonely on the street by herself, and she has just drawn him in, and it's a trap. She begins changing colors, various hues, and she rises up into the night sky and begins causing everyone to have delusions. They get these like swirly pink and purple psychedelic sort of visions. Their eyes turn these swirly psychedelic colors too, and they start freaking out. And then it tells the backstory here. There was a big music festival, kind of like Burning Man, out in the desert, and everyone was taking this new psychedelic drug, and a lot of people died. It was like a big massacre, and when the police arrived, they saw this lady floating up in the sky, and all that she said was phantasmagoria. So that's what they call her, this urban legend, this floating lady, this floating psychedelic lady, phantasmagoria. And she starts zapping people, and she's doing all sorts of crazy shit. Grayskale sees this going on. he tells his lady friend, Felicity, or Fel, you got to get out of here, go hide. And it's in this moment when he decides he's going to have to do his thing. He's going to have to go after this lady. Oops, I better cover that up. I covered everything else. I tried to cover all the boobs and the butts so I wouldn't get a strike on my channel. Look at this. People are like tearing their eyes out because they're having these hallucinations. They're under control of phantasmagoria. And Grayskale is without time to change into his costume or anything or hide his identity. He's just going right at it. And he's able to sneak up on her and puts her in a chokehold. And she's starting to cause him to freak out. But just before he is totally gone, he grabs a hold of her ankle, and I had to block that out because she's quite revealed right here. He holds onto her ankle, and he remembers the move. Instant karma. And he does it to her. And then you see this kind of shadowy figure appear behind him, and she screams, and the anti-color. Reminds me of anti-venom. And somehow this scares the phantasmagoria right out of the chick. Her color fades away, and she turns back into a normal lady. And again, I had to cover this up because there's a lot of skin being shown right there. Now, Felicity, after just watching this, she comes up, and by the way, she's saying Ash. That's his Christian name. She walks up and she's like, "Are you okay?" And again, he has just used the instant karma, so he turns around, kind of snarling, "Don't touch me! Don't! Just leave me alone!" And it's tough to make scenes like this, tough to draw this kind of thing seriously, because this is even tough to do in a movie, where a guy you're supposed to take seriously is like, "Just leave me alone!" And then he runs off like this. It always makes it look like a little teenager, teeny bopper who's angry at his parents, like running off to his bedroom. "Just leave me alone!" Anyway, this guy works for Johnny Singh. He saw them interact. He knows that's Grayskale. He knows that Grayskale's been hanging out with Felicity, so he's going to tell Johnny Singh, "This chick, we got to kidnap her because that's his main squeeze. We can get Grayskale if we get his chick." So, yeah, that's what they're going to do. Grayskale heads out into town, taking care of business, blah, 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 blah. He runs into this guy who's, what is he? He's kind of got like a pottery head. See how his head's kind of chipped? He's like a pottery boy. A weird villain. But he's not all bad. He just kind of he's like a victim of circumstance type of character. Grayscale's dealt with him a few times before, and he's like, "What? Didn't I tell you to stop doing bad things, pottery boy?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know, but we've been sent out here. Johnny Singh wants us to cause all this trouble." "Wait, Johnny Singh?" "Yeah, and he wanted me to give you a message. He's told all of his guys, if we run into you, got to have a message." "And what's the message?" The message is one word. Fel. Right there it says Fel. As in Felicity. Grayscale's girlfriend. Ash's girlfriend. So Grayskale hops on his motorbike, trundles on over to the local casino where the story very first started. He gets himself into a trap. He knows it's a trap, but he can take care of all these guys quite easily because he's a superhero and they're just regular schmohawks. He uses some new gadgets that he's invented so he wouldn't have to always rely on instant karma. But by the end of this fight, after taking out all these guys, he's kind of out. He's out of his implements. He's out of his tech. And Johnny Singh comes through the door, and he's been upgraded, and he's calling himself Brass Ring. Looks kind of like a golden Super Saiyan Tony Stark, a little bit, with no Iron Man helmet. And he comes in. This guy is the man who helped him create all of this armor. And what is the first thing he does? What's the first thing Brass Ring does? He uses his new suit and electrical charge on the tech junkie, the guy who created the very suit that he needs to defeat Grayskale. and he zaps him, and he doesn't even give a shit. And then he starts trying to zap Grayskale. And you come to find out he's drawing all of his power from the city of Glitter, from Glitter City. So Grayskale gets in touch with Charty through his intercom system. Charty back at the quarters is able to pull the power on the entire Grayskale City, Glitter City. Sorry. Power goes out just long enough for Johnny Singh's armor to not be a problem. And Grayskale takes this opportunity to thwack him, and then he thwacks his zappers, and when the power comes on, he's mostly powered down, not all the way. Unfortunately, he is still able to get one shot off on Felicity, but just one before Grayskale tackles him, gives him a nice walloping, and he's, down for the count. Runs over to check on his girlfriend, and she seems to be okay, but she's lost her memory, and that's not good. She doesn't know who he is. That's why he looks so shocked. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she's like, "Who are you?" Huh? Who are you? Who am I? I am Grayskale. So we'll see what happens next time. If she gets her memory back, if she's going to be alright, maybe we'll see next time if this story is continued. In the very back of the book, we have a nice pin-up here by Donald DeLay, probably drawn while he was taking one of his legendary shits. Here's a pin-up by Ibai Canales. Here's a pin-up by Narwhal. And there's a pinup by Piqué Santra. And then all of the Good Karma backers of this book. I suppose you probably had to donate at a certain tier to get your name in here, I think. And then there you are. Grayskale with the bad guy in a headlock. I like this after I read it. The art style is not exactly my favorite. A lot of the ladies have, like, super duper bolt on tits. I like a nice natural titty, a nice natural looking one, as far as art style goes. But it's a fun read. Okay, not too bad. Until next time, this has been Camcorder Comics. See ya. Fucking. This is